Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today we are going to talk about the last day of evidence in this case, or at least the last full day of it. And we're going to look at some of the more unusual statements that were made. Let's head on down to the beach and talk about this. It became clear to me in the second cross-examination, or perhaps it was actually in the defense's direct case, that Mr. Sanderson has some real issues. And, you know, initially what looks like mendacity can sometimes just be mental disease or defect. And I don't know whether this gentleman has dementia or not. I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. I can only tell you that some of the answers he gave are really disturbing, like this one.
Did you, upon filing your lawsuit in a press conference, compare my client to King Kong coming out of the jungle? Yes or no?
That was not my intention.
Did you do that? Did I make up those words, or are those your words to the press?
I'm not sure, but probably sounds familiar.
Do you dispute it?
I dispute my intentions, that's all I...
King Kong coming out of the jungle.
Press conference.
Pardon?
Press conference. I was pretty...
Did you say those words about my client?
I meant to say King Kong just chased someone out of the jungle. That's what I meant.
Did you refer to her as Godzilla to your daughter?
I did not. I don't remember that.
She testified to that.
I don't remember that. It's gone. Sorry.
You told everyone it was a hit and run, right? Wrote to your own hometown newspaper and said, she hit and ran me.
I did say that.
And that's been dismissed by this court. Do you understand that?
Yes, I guess so. Yes.
And then we have this answer.
Was it important to you to bring this lawsuit?
It was. I felt like I was seriously injured. And then I had so many insults added to that. I think, as I said the other day, so many insults added to that and layered on that after a while...
Your Honor, post-collision conduct is not an issue. Layered on insults is not part of the lawsuit.
Overruled?
Yeah, I'm classifying as an insult that's absolutely ignoring me, ignorance. And that's what it felt like. It's like, what is going on here? This is obviously an issue that someone needs to be accountable for. And if they're never accountable, what are they going to do? They're going to do it again. Now we have the on an island?
Your Honor,
Denial.
this is ridiculous testimony. He's talking about...
Sustained as to relevance, the last part, the jury should disregard.
So as you can see, Mr. Sanderson has some real issues, and I don't want to belittle him. I don't want to make fun of him, even though some of his statements were pretty outlandish, because it is unkind to make light of somebody who has a problem of a mental type. I mean, I really believe the poor gentleman has some issues. It doesn't mean that he has a case. It just means he very clearly has some issues. Moving then to Mr. Snarky. Mr. Snarky put up his expert witness, and the first few minutes of that examination were absolutely painful. Let's watch.
What's your current position?
I'm currently the Chief Medical Officer for Intermountain Healthcare in Utah and Idaho.
Does that mean you're the top MD for all of Intermountain Healthcare?
In Utah and Idaho.
Okay. You're pretty young, aren't you? How old are you?
48.
When I hired on you on this case, you didn't have such a prestigious title, did you?
No, I did not.
What were you?
I was a neurologist at Intermountain Medical Center and the leader of our neurosciences program at Intermountain.
Good for you. To be clear, you are not here on behalf of Intermountain Healthcare, is that right?
Correct. My opinions are my own.
Thank you. All right. Just undergrad, where was that briefly?
Undergrad, University of Maryland, College Park.
In what subject?
Cell and molecular biology and genetics.
What a nerd.
I am a neurologist.
Kidding. Poli-sci is the nerd thing. All right, good for you. And then your MD degree was where?
University of Maryland in Baltimore.
And what did you choose to specialize in?
Neurology.
Okay, and how many years? So 4 years undergrad, 4 years med school, then how many more years?
Well, then I did a PhD for 4 years as well in that time, and then went across town to Hopkins for my neurology residency. So that was another 4 years.
What a nerd. All right, 4 years in postdoctorate. What's that? In?
Neurology.
Okay.
And then 2 more years as a fellowship in neurocritical care.
But did you say there were years after undergrad before med school?
That was during med school. I did my PhD.
Okay. Not all MDs do PhDs too?
Correct.
Okay. That's a lot of training. Fellowship was in what specifically?
Neurocritical care.
All right. So neuro critical care. This is like when people are hit their head and they're in big trouble.
That's correct.
Now, over the balance of the entire examination, I thought both lawyer and witness did an excellent job.
Can you read your opinion number 2?
The only neurological problems, Mr. Sanderson.
I object to reading a report to the jury. You can tell it, no problem with that, but you shouldn't be reading it.
We already dealt with this.
Yeah, overruled. I think I ruled on it.
Go ahead.
The only neurological problems Mr. Sanderson has had maybe partly The only neurological problems Mr. Sanderson has had that may be partly attributable to the ski accident are those associated with the mild concussion he experienced during the accident.
Okay. Can you fill in the meat on those bones? Help us understand that a little.
Yes, so my opinion is if he had a concussion, it was very mild. More likely than not, I would say 95% or more that he would have made a full recovery from that concussion within a few weeks, not more than 99% within a few months based on the severity of the concussion. So
I think he's saying I'm in that like 1%. I'm not in the 95 and the 99%. How do you respond to that?
So I would say if, as a neurologist, I have patients that come in, they complain of cognitive symptoms, memory loss, attention problems, difficulty doing things that they used to do, and they can have depression and anxiety. They may have early signs of dementia. Those things are far more common for someone in Mr. Sanderson's category. Man in their 70s, they don't feel the way that they used to feel like they're getting old, like you said, before the accident or after the accident, concerned that they may be getting Alzheimer's disease. So I think those things are far more likely than a very minor concussion causing symptoms 7 years later.
The lawyer handled some frivolous objections quite well, and of course the judge is right on it. So I don't think there was too much that happened that wasn't appropriate. The cross-examination, however, was even more painful than the first few moments of that direct exam. And that was because of Coffee McCofferson, otherwise known as Attorney Sykes. Let's listen to the first few minutes here.
I will draw the question.
Thank you.
But would you agree, excuse me, that a clinical examination is the gold standard for a physician who's treating somebody?
not sure what a gold standard means.
Pretty important.
It's a big part of my evaluation.
Excuse me.
I am pretty sure that if we ran a cough counter during the entirety of that examination, we would quite probably need to express the number of coughs with an exponent. The gentleman has apparently never heard of a cough drop. At any rate, I thought he did in terms of doing a good job on cross-examination, he did get in a few licks. I think the point about not examining the patient is a valid one, although it disturbed me greatly when on redirect, the defense didn't point out he wasn't hired to examine the patient. And as he mentioned, he wasn't even aware that was an option. So as far as I'm concerned, I thought Dr. Hesh did a really good job on direct. Then the neuropsych person did an even better job laying out the case for why Mr. Sanderson's injury is simply a continuation of his progressive decline over the last couple of years and not related in any way to the accident. Interestingly enough, this little exchange happened at the end of the cross-examination by Attorney Sykes.
That language says, does it not, that the fact that he is a high baseline, high functioning individual is going to mask his cognitive deficits. And you left that out, didn't you?
Yes, because that didn't make sense to me, and I can explain that.
No further questions.
And then this was the retort used by the plaintiffs on redirect. And I think it pretty much nailed the issue on most of this.
So my first question will be, will you explain that?
Okay. So first of all, you can't, what we say in neuropsychology, you can't fake good. Unless someone's given you the test and you're cheating, you can't perform higher than you can on any sort of test. And when he was tested by Dr. Mattson, he was performing at a high level of abilities, average to above average functioning. That's exactly what you would expect with someone who was a B student all of their lives, went to optometry school, was basically a high functioning, high average person their entire life. His testing was 100% consistent with his test results. So I didn't understand what it would mean that he could be masking deficits because he wasn't showing deficits, and you can't fake good.
Did you watch any testimony of Mr. Sanderson's daughters during this trial?
Yes, I did.
And did watching their testimony change any of your opinions?
Not from a clinical sense. I'm not going to address any of the family issues, but it's clear that the daughters who testified in court were not very knowledgeable about their father's mental health history.
I noticed yesterday on Court TV that the poll had Paltrow at about 90% and Sanderson at 10%. I saw a similar poll on Law and Crime, had 69 and I think 31. It really does seem to be tipping in favor of Ms. Paltrow at this point. And I think a lot of that is due to two things. One, that they did not put this case together in a linear order, and they didn't put the evidence in the right way. That's the plaintiffs. And two, I think that in spite of being annoying and smirky and snarky, Mr. Owens has done a good job, and the other lawyer, the one that I call Clark Kent because that's who he reminds me of, I think he has been exceptional with the expert witnesses. He has been on top of his game, handled the objections well, was able to pivot when he needed to pivot, and I think that's, generally speaking, a pretty good indication that he knows what he is doing. This has been a very poorly tried case. I would make a prediction at this point that there will be a take-nothing judgment, meaning neither party will get anything from the jury. And if that's the case, well, then Ms. Paltrow is not going to get her attorney's fees either. Even if she gets $1, it's probably pretty likely she's going to get her attorney's fees. So that's what I have for you today. I didn't want to belabor the point, and as I said, judging from many of Mr. Sanderson's responses yesterday, which were markedly different than his initial cross-examination, at least to me, I felt pretty sure that that in spite of the plaintiff's objections to information about dementia, I really do believe that there's probably some component of that going on. And again, I'm not a doctor. That's just my lay opinion in this case. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe. For all of you who have subscribed, thank you very much. If you would, and you have the opportunity today, take a moment, do something kind for someone. And I appreciate all of you who have commented and done so respectfully. Thank you very much for watching. Have a terrific day, and I will catch you down here at the beach next time.
If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.